I am, yes, try now. I am here now.
Close it. Let me close it and go in fresh. Let's see what happens
Okay.
now.
Okay, yes, you should be okay.
Yes.
Okay, Edna. See you
Thank
soon.
you.
Okay, Edna.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Buddy?
Good morning.
Steve, you didn't pay the electricity bill?
Well, I paid it quickly, so it's only after 5 minutes I paid it.
I will ask you just to give me,
One of the things you can do online.
someone is connecting through Hillcrest. Oh, it's Cheryl, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I still have to reset the clocks.
Please give me
Good morning. I'm
give
just
me a
starting.
couple of minutes, okay? I will be back.
Okay, get to you about late this morning, okay?
Where is the class?
Hi, everybody. Again.
Morning.
Hi.
Okay. I just want to share something that nothing too like deep. I have a couple of Torah partners that I study Gemara with them, different tractates. Not that I don't have enough, Cheryl, I mean, with Daf Yomi, but or with these classes. But we are studying with Rabbi Naya with Avodah Zarah, which has finished the first chapter, which has 21 pages. Fascinating first chapter. You know, sometimes you say this is not too interesting. I think that the 21 pages were good ones. So I don't know how it's going to be the rest. It's a long tractate, but I mean, middle size.
Can you tell us what the topic was?
The idol worship is the laws. You know, the Torah has many laws of idol worship. So it's basically how, what are basically the relationship between Jews and non-Jews. That's in a general scope. In a time when the assumption is that the non-Jews are idol worshippers. Which is a fascinating topic because we use the word goy very loosely today to refer to anybody who is a non-Jew, it's a goy or a goya, which is sometimes the word, the different editions of the Talmud sometimes use the word goy, and sometimes they use the word akum. Akum is an acronym for Oved Kochavim Umazalot, worshippers of stars and and zodiac. Or so that, so, but in general, when they think about goy, who do they have in mind? So the rabbis in the Talmud, when they have these rules, and certainly not in the Torah, they didn't have Christians, they didn't have Muslims,
Right.
they didn't have Buddhists. So what they have in mind are people who worship idols. So then the Talmud goes like in a very, I would say, smooth way to the Romans. These are the people around them. They talk about the Romans, which are also idol worshippers, or the Greeks, let's say. But then in the Middle Ages, they need to decide how to relate to non-Jews. And the non-Jews in the year 400, 500 are already Christians, and certainly in the Middle Ages. So how do they apply these rules to them? So it's a fascinating topic, how different commentators deal differently based on where they are located. So for example, Rashi, who is doing business with the non-Jews all the time, he's going to be more lenient than Maimonides, who doesn't have too many Christians in Egypt. And there is a particular rabbi called the Meiri, who is a middle-aged rabbi from Provence, who he says that when the Talmud talks about, or the Torah talks about the idol worshippers, it's not referring to the Christians. It's referring to something else that we don't know. It's a type of idol worshipper that is not the non-Jew that we are dealing here. So he says that everything that you read here about goyim and idol worshippers should not apply to, let's say, Maxi, or should not apply to any non-Jew that you know, because it's a different entity altogether.
Rabbi, doesn't goy have like a negative implication when we use it these days?
Depends in the, first of all, the word goy, goy means nation. The word goy. So Israel, the Jewish people, is also referred as goy in the Torah. Ki mi goy gadol. So the Jews are called goy. Yes. Also, goy means people, means nation. So usually they call the other nations the goim. Yes, because there are also verses that refer to the other nations as the plural goim. So the word goim, which we use today in a maybe some people use in a pejorative way, refers to the non-Jews. But let's say that if someone will tell you, I don't know who was the defense minister who says, I was the Shabbos goy, he was the Shabbos goy, or Elvis Presley would say, I grew up, I was the Shabbos goy in growing up. He's not talking in a pejorative way. His goy there is a synonym to for a non-Jew. But the way that, some people talk is pejorative. So let's say that Juana would say, for example, I don't know, you eat bread on Pesach? No, I am a goya, or I am. She would not. It would not be pejorative. But if you say, oh, you are a goy, yes. So that the entire attitude is pejorative.
I think what Edna might have been thinking of was when you call somebody a shiksa or shagets. That's pejorative, even when you say it with a friendly tone.
Yes, that is pejorative. That is pejorative, and the root of the word is abomination, and it is pejorative. Yes. Yeah.
And even when somebody says Schwarzer,
Yes.
I hate when people do that.
Yes. Yes, but if you were to refer to someone, he's black, it won't be pejorative.
Right.
But in the context, yes, it is.
I remember reading an essay by James Baldwin, good 50 years ago, who was in the New York Times, and he said, they may use a word like Schwarzer but we know what it means. Even though they don't think we do, we know what that means.
Right?
Yes, I think that most Jews, you may still see that in some communities and some of the elderly people. I would say most younger people would not, and many, I would say, people in our shul would be more careful than a few years ago. I think that's these things got a little better. Right, just to say one thing, let me just beat this horse a little more, and then we'll do some Gemara. Because I feel I just want to tell you that there is one thing that is one thing better than being politically correct, and that is being correct. Okay, so there are many people who are politically correct, but inside they are not correct. So, you know, better than being politically correct, you need to be correct. You know, now, like if you don't say, oh, look at this Schwarze, but you think that way, you know, certainly you are not going to say, you know, the Schwarzes are going to bring down the price of my home. Yes, to say that is politically incorrect. Yes, but if you file a petition, what?
It's also racist. I mean, the idea of the whole term politically correct comes from the right wing, and it's a nonsense term.
Yes,
because
I'm just saying, you know, many people, including many liberals, would not say such a thing, but will act such way, which is also wrong, or even worse, because it adds hypocrisy to the sin. Okay, that's just my thought. Okay, I was reading too much Tablet magazine lately. Okay, page 94. We are going to have an ambitious goal, or less ambitious, to go to the next mission at least. Okay, I'm going. Steve Sela is okay? You are muted, Steve. You can unmute yourself if there is no button. Unmute yourself, Steve.
That's what my wife tries to do. She tries to mute me. She'll be here soon.
Obviously, she failed today.
Okay, David, let me ask you to read, David, in the middle of page 94, okay?
Rav Nachman says, all types of mockery are forbidden except for mockery of idol worship, which is permitted as it is written.
Okay, let me just explain.
Okay.
You cannot make fun. Mockery is forbidden, except when you mock idol worship. Okay, again, this is something that we may doesn't sound good to us. I will say, you know, you will not make fun of idol worship, but the Talmud is saying, Rav Nachman says that it is okay, okay, which is permitted as it is written.
Okay, Bel crouches down, Nevo stoops, they crouch down. Together they could not hold back the burden.
Okay, this is I'm a little slow. David, this is a verse in Isaiah. Bel and Nevo, they are names of idols. Okay?
Oh, okay. Continue?
Yes.
The verse is interpreted as meaning that they crouch in order to defecate and cannot retain their excrement.
So apparently from this verse, Prophet Isaiah is mocking their idols. He's making fun of their idols. Of course, it's chastising the Jewish people or anybody who will believe in those idols. Look at these idols. They cannot even hold their own excrements. Okay, let's continue.
Rav Yitzhak says, oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. Similarly, they speak, the inhabitants of Samaria shall be in dread of the calves of Beth Aven, for its people shall mourn over it, and its priests shall tremble for it, for its glory, kevodo, because it has departed from it.
This is a verse on Hosea. Now, I like to say, I don't know you, that I am not very familiar with the book of Hosea, although part of Hosea was my haftarah. That part I am familiar, but in general, I am not. It's not a book that I read every day before I go to sleep. But the rabbis here knew the entire Bible, so they certainly knew the book of Hosea. So they bring this verse. Hosea is also chastising the Jewish people about idol worship. And let's see how they interpret. Do not.
Those who sacrifice. Wait a second. I think I lost my place
Read it,
here.
read it again. They read it again. They
Okay,
speak.
Rav Yitzchak says, "What is the meaning of that which is written? And they shall continue to sin."
No. The paragraph before.
Okay, now I see where I am. Do not read it as its glory, rather read it as its burden.
In Hebrew, kevodo or keveido. Yes.
Meaning that the idol is unable to restrain itself from defecating. These are examples of derogatory statements that are permitted only in reference to idols. Rav Yitzchak says, what is the meaning of that which is written? And now they continue to sin and have made for themselves molten images of their silver, according to their own understanding, idols, all of them the work of the craftsman. Of them, they say, those who sacrifice men kiss calves, Hosea 13:2.
This was in my haftarah, so I remember that. This verse was in my haftarah. I even remember that. I, by the way, I want to say this is unrelated, but in Argentina, they don't teach trop. So we needed to learn the recording. So that's how I learned my haftarah. Just to share, how wonderful is that an average child here at Hillcrest that didn't go to day school, will be taught the entire trop and will learn from the Torah and the haftarah with trop. Okay, but it says agalim yeshakum, those who sacrifice men kiss calves. How do you pronounce calves?
Calves.
You don't pronounce the L, no?
Correct.
No.
But it is there.
Yeah.
God bless you, Americans. Okay. Please continue.
All right. What is the meaning of the expression according to their own understanding, kitfunam, idols? The word kitfunam is interpreted as meaning according to their image. Kitfunam.
Ketavnitam.
The verse teaches that each of it and every person would make an image of his God and place it in his pocket. When he would remember it, he would remove it from his bosom and embrace it and kiss it.
These are small idols that you can carry them in your pocket, like portable idols. Idols are not necessarily big ones, but are small ones. But if you have time, and I recommend you to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, if you care about social distance, you don't have a problem, because this is a good time to go. It's almost empty. I'm just giving you this ad. This is really, in general, a good place to visit. And if you go to the part of Assyria, the part of the Levant, you see all these small statues of all the idols, Astarte and Baal. They were like little figurines that people worship, and some of them you could take them with you. Okay. If you remember also, in the story in the book of Genesis, Laban is looking for his trafim, for his house idols, and Rachel sits on top of them. So these are not talking about like huge statues. Usually people, when they think about idols, they think about these, these huge statues that people bow down to them, but it could be like a small figurine or a small house idol. Portable idols. Okay, 63b. Please continue. Top of the...
What is the meaning of this statement? Those who sacrifice men kiss calves. Rabbi Yitzchak of the school of Rabbi Ami says, it means that priests of idol worship would set their eyes on the wealthy, and they would starve the calves that were objects of idol worship and make statues in the image of those wealthy people and place those statues next to the troughs of the calves, and they would take those calves outside. When the calves would see these wealthy people, whose image they were used to seeing near the troughs, they would run after them and paw them. At this point, the priest would say to that wealthy person, the object of idol worship, the calf, desires you. Let the master come and sacrifice himself to it. The priest would inherit his property. Rava says that is not the correct interpretation of the verse, as the wording, those who sacrifice men kiss calves, is unsuitable for that interpretation, since in that case, the verse should have stated, they make calves kiss to sacrifice men. Rather, Rava says that the verse is to be understood as follows. Whenever anyone sacrifices his son to an object of idol worship, the priest says to him, the master has sacrificed a great gift to the idol, therefore he has the right to come and kiss it. The verse means that the reward of those who sacrifice men is to kiss calves.
Okay, let's continue.
Okay. Rav Yehuda says that Rav says, with regard to the verse describing the peoples that were settled in Samaria by the Assyrians, and the men of Babylonia made Sukkot Benoth, that's from 2 Kings 17:30, and what is his idol? It is the image of a hen. And the men of Kuth made Nergal, 11 Kings. And what is it? It is the image of a rooster. And the men of Hamath made Ashima, also Kings. And what is it? It is the image of a bald billy goat. And the Avites made Nibhats of Tartak, Kings. And what are they? The image of a dog and a donkey. You're not going to stop me there, yeah? Okay.
Let's continue. Continue. Yes, not too much. Not too much. Go continue.
And the Sephardites burned their sons and their daughters in the fire to Adamalech and Anamalech, the gods of Sepharvim things. And what are they? The mule and the horse. And why are they called that? A mule is called Adramelech because it honors Adar, its master, with its load. That is because it carries the master's load. And a horse is called Amalek because it responds to its master, assisting him in battle.
Okay, so these are, they are talking about idol worship. They go a little digression. They bring many verses from the Bible that mention different idols. And the rabbis discuss which one are these idols, and they give them different, they associate different people with different idols. It's nothing that should keep you awake at night, okay? We are just going through this. It's not too difficult, okay? The Gemara relates.
Okay. The Gemara relates, the father of Hezekiah, king of Judea, also attempted to do so to him, that is, to burn him as an offering to an idol, but his mother rubbed him with the blood of a salamander, the creature created out of fire and immune to the effects of fire, whose blood is fireproof.
Look at the background, the salamander. I'm going to talk briefly about the salamander. Yes? Go ahead.
Oh, but not now. Okay. Rav Yehuda says...
No. I wanted to, the background.
Oh.
The background salamander. Yes.
Salamander is the name of a group of tailed animals that includes hundreds of species. The common salamander, also known as the fire salamander, lives near swamps and streams in Israel and many other places in the world. The salamander feeds on bugs and small animals found in the water. The word salamandra, is also used to refer to a creature formed from fire. Midrashim include various descriptions of the salamander's creation from fire and the ability of its blood to skin grant immunity from fire. Rabbi Benjamin Musafia claims that these depictions are referring to the same creature, one whose resistance to fire is due to the moistness of its skin. However, the descriptions in the Midrashim and other places do not accord with this explanation.
Okay, so let me just talk here. The segue here is that there was a king called Hezekiah, Hizkiyahu, and his father, the king of Judea, I forgot the name of the father, tried to kill him as we are going to see, well, try to sacrifice his son. We are going to see that later on, that in the next part, that one of the sins that is punishable with stoning is people who offer their children to Moloch, to the god Moloch, or to the Molech. I know, I tried to do it with my children. No, I didn't. Hi, Iris. But
Hello.
hello. 9:30 was today. I don't know if you forgot or you couldn't make it. Okay. Don't worry. We are on page 94 and 95.
Fine, Rabbi, thank you.
Okay. Hi, Sela. Good seeing you. So, apropos of that connection, that someone who tried to sacrifice their children, they tell us that the king of King Hizkiyahu, the father of Hizkiyahu, wanted to sacrifice his son, but the mother rubbed his son with salamander blood, and it was fireproof. Okay, it's the story here. A little about the salamander. Are you familiar, or is me, that the word salamandra is being used as another word for samovar? You heard it, this, or it's just me?
Yeah, so no.
Hmm.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, don't go. I'm just have this curiosity. Salamandra.
There's salamander in here. Oh, ew. Why is that blood? It smells.
Okay. No, salamandra is a type of a stove. Okay, I'm going to do a little research. Maybe it's in Spanish in Argentina. Maybe that's a connection with the fire. What I want to say, unrelated to anything, but just to get a little naches of my son and to share some naches. Ilan got fascinated, and when I say fascinated, I haven't seen him fascinated for a long time, but he got fascinated with Jewish mythical creatures. Okay, God bless him. He did research, a 73 slides PowerPoint of every single mythical creature in the Talmud, in the Midrash, in every single book, you know, and tried to develop that and did presentation. Is going to teach children at Checker Long Island, was invited to teach there. So that's his new shtick. He reads books about mythical creatures. God bless him. So one of these mythical creatures is this salamander. Okay, that's what I want to tell you. It's a special animal that its blood defends you against, protects you against fire. Okay, Sela.
No, I was just wondering if it had a distinctive odor that, you know, was repulsive.
Yes.
Yes,
people use,
No.
okay. Any questions so far? We are going to move to the next.
Here, salamander also refers to a cooking utensil.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. How do you know that?
Like my dictionary here.
Oh, excellent. Yes, salamander is a cooking utensil, and it may have to do with this idea of the fire. That I don't know. That's my association. But thank you. Yes.
The
Is that
salamander,
a brand name? Is it a brand name or a description?
which
Steve?
salamander is an animal.
No,
At
no.
least-
No, I'm talking about the
Is it a
cooking
name of
utensil.
something or is it
Somebody
a
did.
description?
No, it's not a brand name. It's a description. It could be
Oh,
a
okay.
stove, or it could
Yeah.
be.
Yes, that's what I told you. So, yeah. In Spanish also.
But the salamander, I mean, I used to catch them as a kid when I used to go up to the
But
country.
not these.
Right, in the Catskills.
But this
That's
is not a
right.
mythical
Right.
creature. The attributes they give to it is mythical.
And it doesn't even look like this.
No, we have
Our
ours
salamanders.
were pink.
Ours were
Yes.
orange.
Yeah, swollen
Orange,
and
yeah.
orangey color.
Okay.
Yeah, pinky orange.
Yes, Nora. Hi, Nora. How are you doing? We started a little early. We sent the email. You need to read emails, but that's no big deal. You are in good company. You are in good company, Nora. We are on page 95, 3 paragraphs on the bottom. And I am going to ask you, Cheryl, to read. Rabbi Yehuda says that Rab says.
Rabbi Yehuda says that Rab says, the Jewish people knew that idol worship is of no substance. They did not actually believe in it, and they worshiped idols only in order to permit themselves to engage in forbidden sexual relations in public, since most rituals of idol worship would include public displays of forbidden sexual intercourse.
Okay, this is something, it's a phrase on the Talmud. Lo avdu avodah zara ela leatir lahem arayot befaresia. They had an ulterior motive. They liked that part of the idol worship. And if you remember the movie The Ten Commandments, when Moses go and they worship the idol calf, it's not just the idol calf, but all the parties that come with that idol worship. Okay, let's continue.
Rav Misharshia raises an objection to this statement from the following verse. Like the memory of their sons are their altars, and their asherim are by the leafy trees upon the high hills. And Rabbi Elazar says that this means that the Jewish people would recall their idol worship like a person who misses his child. This interpretation indicates that they were truly attached to idol worship. The Gemara answers, this was the case after the Jewish people became attached to idol worship, at which point they began to actually believe in it. At first, they were drawn to idol worship only due to their lust.
Okay.
The Gemara
I'm on a roll here. I was in the University of Buenos Aires in Argentina, which is a public university, like most of the and it's free, by the way, and it's the best university in Argentina, and it's highly politicized. Okay? Very, very politicized, and when it means politicized, is all the political parties are active in the university also. And we used to say that if you join the Communist Party in the university, which is the club, it was a good place to have sex because the girls were very, very what?
Easy.
Promiscuous.
Yes, easy. I only joined for 4 years. After that, no. No, but the point is that the idea is doesn't matter how you join. Once you are there, they can indoctrinate. Okay, they can indoctrinate you, and then I will show you my pictures of Stalin that I have. Just kidding. Okay, okay, let's continue.
The Gemara suggests, come and hear a proof that the Jewish people engaged in idol worship for its own sake, and not for the sake of engaging in forbidden sexual relations. In interpretation of the verse, and I shall cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols, from Leviticus, the sages say that Elijah the righteous, the prophet, would search for those who were swollen with hunger in Jerusalem. He once found a child who was swollen with hunger and lying in the garbage. Elijah said to the child, from which family are you? The child said to him, I am from such and such family. Elijah said to him, isn't there anyone left from that family? The child said to him, no one is left besides me. Elijah said to him, if I teach you something through which you will live, will you learn it? The child said to him, yes. Elijah said to him, say every day, listen, Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one.
That's a beautiful thing. I don't want to get lost. Elijah says to this child, if I teach you one thing, one thing, would you repeat after me? Would you say that thing? And what is he saying? Him Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Okay, it's a wonderful source here of something that we know, that this phrase is the essence. If you need to put what Jews believe in one verse, this is the verse that you want to choose. Yes? Let's continue.
The child said to him, hush, so as not to mention the name of the Lord. From Amos. The child did not want to even hear the mention of the name of the Lord, which his father and his mother did not teach him. Immediately, the child removed his God from his bosom and began hugging it and kissing it until his stomach burst from hunger and his God fell to the earth, and he fell upon it in fulfillment of that which is stated, and I shall cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols. This incident demonstrates that the Jewish people engaged in idol worship for its own sake. The Gemara answers, this also occurred after the Jewish people became attached to idol worship. The Gemara suggests.
I'm going to say again something else about idol worship. It's going to take me 2 minutes, but this just bear with me. When a child like this child grows up in the house and the father is an idol worshiper, he's going to be an idol worshiper. This is, you know, when someone grows up, the possibility that someone who grows up in an idol worshiper home won't be an idol worshiper is very small. We like to believe that we have our own agency and everybody has this free will, but the truth is that we are a product of our education. So if I didn't grow up in a place with Shabbos, so I'm not going to keep Shabbos. It could happen, you know, they will do the Baal Tshuva if I go to rabbinical school, but I am the exception. My brother is the rule. My cousins are the rule. My other cousins are the rule. My all other cousins are the rule. So the fact that I keep Shabbos, this is the exception to the rule. And this is something that we need to remember, especially when we work with people who are not, didn't grow up in an observant home. We are all a product of our home, and the same happened in the frum world. There are some people who leave the frum world and become, like in the movie, unorthodox and go and they explore the world and they run away. When such a case happens, they do a movie, okay? And there are more than one, but in comparison with the thousands and thousands who don't run, we are talking about the minority. And it's not because they evaluated the benefits of such a culture, but we follow what we grew up. This is the story of this child. I think this is a great story to show how education works. Because if we are the product, and also in other areas, in politics, in many other areas, we are the product of you know, the way our parents taught us. People can change, but the education that you receive at home is very, very strong.
Rabbi?
Yes.
Do you know of an organization called Footsteps?
Footsteps, I think, is that organization that helps people who were observant to become.
Right.
Yes, I am familiar. Yes.
And in many cases, one of the problems that they have after they leave the Orthodox community is lack of high school diploma, particularly if they're women.
Yes.
And one of the things that Footsteps does is help them prepare for their GED.
And it's a good thing, and these are good organizations, and there is all the pressure, but for the majority of the people who are part of this of a Haredi community, this is the way they grew up, and this is the way they like, and this is the way they love. I'm mentioning this because these are not the cases you know, we get this idea that everybody is a slave in that community, and all the women are slaves of the Haredi community. That's not true.
No.
And the same in the Muslim, and the same in the Muslim world, and the same in places where the children, they hate Israel, and they say, I want to be a martyr when I grow up and to blow myself up in Israel. That's a way, when you are 4 years old and you hear that all the time, that's the way you are going to believe. Okay, this is, again, I'm just saying that's something that the story is telling us, that the strength of education, how it works. You know, when you grow up, you will decide, you know, when we tell our children, people say, I'm not going to give them any religion. When they grow up, they're going to decide.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work because education is extremely strong. So by not deciding, you are deciding also.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
depriving,
What?
and depriving the child
Yes, or
of the
depriving or
education and the heritage.
or giving them a different like I have my first cousin married a nice Jewish woman, both of them with Jewish high school education. They are on the left side of the political spectrum, so both of them are knowledgeable, both of them speak Hebrew, but they don't want to influence their children. If they want, they will decide. I tell them, they're not going to decide. They're going to decide what they see at home. They're not going to decide to study Talmud. Maybe, but that maybe is the exception. Okay, I just want to say, beating again this horse, there are a couple of people in Roanoke, Virginia, that became frum. Yes, there are a couple of people, 4 people that became frum. Okay, these 4 are the exception. These 4 are the exception. The huge majority did not become frum, and the huge majority intermarried. Okay, and again, has to do with influence and how the place that we live shapes who we are. Okay, enough maybe said for now. Maybe I'm going to teach this story in Stories with a Twist, but it doesn't end very nicely, so we'll see. Please continue.
The Gemara suggests, come and hear another proof from the verse. And they cried in a loud voice to the Lord their God, Nehemiah. What did they say in that prayer? Rav Yehuda says, and come say it as Rav Yonatan, who says, woe, woe, baya, baya. This evil inclination for idol worship is what destroyed the temple and burned the sanctuary and murdered the righteous ones and caused the Jewish people to be exiled from their land. And it still dances among us. That is, it still affects us. Didn't you give it to us solely for the purpose of our receiving a reward for overcoming it? We do not want it, nor do we want its reward. Evidently, the Jewish people were drawn to idol worship itself, and they did not worship idols only in order to engage in forbidden sexual relations. The Gemara answers, this also occurred after the Jewish people became attached to idol worship.
They're talking about this evil inclination, this Yetzer Hara. What is the Hebrew? What it says, the evil inclination. Okay, it doesn't say the evil inclination, but here it says in Steinsaltz, this is the strength that drew us closer to idol worship. And if you gave us this evil inclination, so we will overcome it and receive the reward. We don't want it. We don't want it, and we don't want its reward. Just take it away from us. We don't want the evil inclination. This Yetzer, we don't want it. I don't want the test. That's what they are saying at this point. Okay? The Gemara.
The Gemara continues to relate the story of the prayer in the days of Nehemiah. The people fasted for 3 days and prayed for mercy. In response to their prayer, a note fell for them from the heavens in which it was written, truth, indicating that God accepted their request.
Okay, I want you to get the picture. They say they pray, so God will remove the evil inclination from this world. And a little note came, and it says from heaven, and it says truth. Accepted. Okay? No more inclination. Okay?
The Gemara makes a parenthetical observation. Rabbi Hanina says, conclude from it that the seal of the Holy One, blessed be he, is truth. The form of a fiery lion cub came forth from the chamber of the Holy of Holies. Zechariah the prophet said to the Jewish people, this is the evil inclination for idol worship. When they caught hold of it, one of its hairs fell out, and it let out a shriek of pain that was heard for 400 parasangs.
400 parasangs is, 1 parsang is 4 kilometers. 400 parsang is 1,600 kilometers, which will be 1,000 miles, more or less. Yes?
They said, what should we do to kill it? Perhaps heaven will have mercy upon it if we attempt to kill it, as it will certainly scream even more. The prophet said to them, Throw it into a container made of lead and cover it with lead, as lead absorbs sound, as it is written. And he said, this is the evil one. And he cast it down into the midst of the measure, and he cast a stone of lead upon its opening. They followed this advice and were freed of the evil inclination for idol worship.
So far, so good. Yes, now let's see what happened.
When they saw that the evil inclination for idol worship was delivered into their hands as they requested, the sages said, since it is an auspicious time, let us pray for mercy concerning the evil inclination for sin concerning sexual matters. They prayed for mercy, and it was also delivered into their hands.
Okay, they say, wow, this is a good idea. God is listening to us. And let's pray also that we forget about other worship. We already got that part. We are safe there. But now let's pray so we won't have, in Hebrew is Itzra de Aveira, the Yetzer for transgression. That means that when we see, if anybody sees a woman that is not his wife, will have the desire. So let's pray so that that evil inclination won't exist any longer. Okay, this is the Yetzer. The Yetzer could be the Yetzer for Avodah Zarah, for idol worship. By the way, I will assume that we don't have it because none of us has this Yetzer for idol worship. Apparently, it was killed. It was subdued. So they say, let's also pray for the removal of the Yetzer of Aveira, of the Yetzer of transgression. Okay, and it was granted. Let's see what happened.
The sages imprisoned it for 3 days. At that time, people searched for a one-day-old fresh egg for the sick, but could not find one. Since the inclination to reproduce was quashed, the chickens stopped laying eggs. They said, what should we do? If we pray for half, that is only half its power be annulled, nothing will be achieved because heaven does not grant half gifts, only whole gifts. What did they do? They gouged out its eyes, and this was effective in limiting it to the extent that a person is no longer aroused to commit incest with his close relatives.
Okay, but for all the other ones, I am sorry, we still have it. I don't know if it's sorry or not, but it's something that we need to work on. That they tried to kill that, and they did such a good job that hens didn't lay eggs. You know, that basically they took the sex out of the world. Again, these are stories, but I think that the lesson here is that many things that bother us or that we find it annoying, these are the same things that are the source of creativity and the source of, you know, actually pushing and getting things done. Especially when we think about children, for example, who are curious and they touch everything and they play with things and they want to disassemble the clock that you have on the mantle, you know. Yes, it's annoying, but if you tell them you sit there and you don't touch anything there, you know, that we are also going to kill that curiosity and that eagerness to learn. So there is a price. There is a price to pay for that. For that, I would say, for that Yetzer. The rabbis are saying this Yetzer is necessary. We cannot get rid of it. We need to live with it and try to harness, you say, to harness it to the right. Okay. Let's look at the one more note, Cheryl, and then we are going to the two notes at the bottom of the page.
This is the inclination for idol worship, etc. This entire incident was apparently a prophetic vision describing the spiritual transformation undergone by the Jewish people during the Second Temple period. Whereas during the period of the First Temple, the Jewish people were devoted to idol worship and engaged in incestuous relations, during the Second Temple period, this changed dramatically.
Okay.
Heaven does not grant half gifts. One explanation of this statement is that they wanted to divide the inclination into two, but as there is no such divided creature in heaven, they could not make such a request.
Okay. I also want to say that some good things you know, what's called the diamond, what's called the diamond, the Rothschild, it's not called the Goldstein diamond, they call it. The Goldstein diamond, a friend is showing to the other friend, this is the Goldstein diamond. Oh, but it comes with a curse. What's the curse? It's Goldstein. So I don't know if you knew that, but the reason I'm saying that is that many things that we want, it comes with another half that we don't want, and sometimes either you take all of it or you take none of it. In congregational life, I don't know if anybody was here a president of a shul or a treasurer of a shul. We may have big donors that their money comes with many strings attached and with many nonsense or with many shtikalach or with many preferences or with many requests. You know, you don't have to take their money. But if you take their money, you usually take the other part as well. The part that, you know, that you, not always, there are many donors who don't have any strings attached, but some of them they have. And then you have, you know, I remember a story that was told to me by a past president of the shul about a particular congregant that, you know, may he rest in peace, that used to be generous with the shul, but he liked to give a lecture every year. Okay, he liked to, you know, to give a lecture. All he wanted is to give a lecture. Eventually, that lecture became too expensive because people, you know, people say, okay, we like your money, we are very grateful, but you know, that lecture about whatever you like to give is not what people are interested in. So you try to push it as much as you can, but there is a moment that, you know, the gift comes with a heavy stone. Sometimes no, sometimes you get, you know, everybody to, you know, I like to say a speech, sure, go ahead. Sign the check and say the speech. Sometimes you can say, you know, whatever, okay? So you can think of other stories. Sometimes it happens with a wonderful spouse for your child that comes with their in-laws, comes sometimes in a package. Yes, David.
Yeah, I was wondering about this phrase, the first temple period and the second temple period. Now, after the destruction of the first temple and the building of the second temple, a period of time went by. Do we refer to anything that happened in that interim in the Talmud, or do we just consider it lost time?
No, we know. For example, apropos of that, the story of Purim that happened between the two temples. Yes.
Oh, okay.
In theory, they you know how many years happened between that they were
80?
exiled? 70 years.
Okay, pretty close.
So 70 years. That doesn't mean that in 70 years they were allowed to come back and they started building the temple, but it was an inter-temple. Yes, all the prophet Ezekiel, who is prophesying from Babylon. By the rivers of Babylon, we sat there crying, remembering Zion.
Al Naharot Babel.
Oh, there. Good job there. Yes.
Wasn't Ezra also involved at that time?
Ezra was involved. Ezra was the leading figure of the return, of the coming back. And Nehemiah of the building of the temple. Yes. The opera Nabucco, I think, is about that. Yes.
You know, the Talmud leaves out the most interesting person is Avraham Avinu, who grows up in a house surrounded with idols because his father, Terach, makes idols.
Yeah.
And yet he comes up with the idea that these idols really can't do the things that people think they can do and that there is one God. It's amazing.
I will say, I'm not sure it kept it out, but since you are mentioning here, Ted, bear with me. I will tell you my goal is to go to the next page. We will make it, God willing, but we have half an hour. Let me do something. Okay, this is apropos of Ted. This is Maimonides, The Laws of Idol Worship, Ilchot Avodah Zarah. I like just to read you this, one of the most beautiful beautiful things, okay? He's talking about Abraham, chapter 1. He had no teacher, nor was there anyone to inform him. Rather, he was mired in Ur Kasdim among the foolish idolaters. His father, mother, and all the people around him were idol worshippers, and he would worship with them. However, his heart was exploring and gaining understanding. Ultimately, he appreciated the way of truth and understood the path of righteousness through his accurate comprehension. This is Maimonides. He realized that there was one God who controlled the sphere. He created everything. Okay. Abraham was 40 years old when he became aware of his creator. So this is Maimonides. He's telling exactly what you are saying. And he was an idol worshiper like everybody else growing up. Okay. He was able to change according to Maimonides. Some people don't like that idea of Abraham. I think Maimonides is right. Some people like to say that even when he was a little baby, he already knew God. Yes, but most likely, I think Maimonides is right.
Well, they have a midrash in the Sefer Agadah,
yes,
that took place when Abraham Avinu was a young child. So the custom was they would put food in front of an idol,
yes,
as a sacrifice. So he decided to eat the food. And the next day when his father came and saw there was no food, he said, "What happened to the food?" So Abraham said, "The idol ate it," which was very, that's a very cute story, because he raises doubt. Not only did he do it, but now the father can't say idols don't eat food, because that would be like the equivalent of being sacrilegious.
It's in Bereshit Rabbah, and God willing, I will send it to you by email in a little while. The entire story with the source. I taught that story in Stories with a Twist. It's a famous story. Abraham breaks his father idols. Yes, it's a great story there. I'm going to write a little note. Story, Bereshit Rabbah. Thank you. Okay.
Rabbi?
Yes.
Yeah, why, with the first temple, why wasn't that erected on the high ground where the Muslims have theirs?
That's where it was erected also. The same place. Yes, Ella.
You're telling me the first temple was up there?
Yes, of
But
course.
how come they didn't build the second one up there? Because
The same,
the
both of them.
Muslims didn't, it was 600 AD. Why didn't they do the second temple up there?
All the temples, the two temples that were in Jerusalem, Solomon Temple and Herod Temple, and the temple from Ezra, which basically Herod Temple was a rededication of Ezra's or Nehemiah's temple. All they were built in exactly the same place where the Dome of the Rock is today. Stella.
The second temple was up there also,
And
right?
the first temple also, and Solomon temples, all the temples that were in the same place. Yes, where the Dome of the Rock is.
Yeah.
That was the Holy of Holies of both temples. There is a stone there called Even Ashtia, and that is the foundational stone. This is where the Holy of the Holies was. So this is our connection to Jerusalem, 3,000 years in the same spot. Okay, I'm going to ask Sela, since you asked a good question, to read for us. Bottom of page 97.
The top?
Bottom.
No, bottom. Rabbi Yehuda says.
Oh, Rabbi Yehuda says that Rav says an incident occurred involving a certain Gentile woman who was very ill. She said, if that woman, referring to herself, recovers from her illness, she will go and worship every object of idol worship in the world. She recovered from her illness and subsequently worshiped every object of idol worship in the world. When she arrived at Peor, she asked the priest, "How does one worship this idol?" They said to her, "One eats spinach, which causes diarrhea, and drinks beer, which also causes diarrhea, and defecates before it." The woman said, "Better for that woman," referring to herself, "to return to her illness and not worship an idol in such a manner."
Baal Peor, Peor is an idol that the way to worship him is by defecating in front of the idol, and Mercury by throwing stones. Okay, let's continue.
Rabbi Huda adds, "You, the house of Israel, are not like that woman who could not bear the repulsiveness of Baal Peor. It is stated with regard to the attitude of the Jewish people toward idol worship that have attached themselves to Baal Peor, indicating a tight attachment like a tightly bound cover tied firmly into a vessel. Yet, with regard to the attitude of the Jewish people toward God, it is stated, 'But you who did cleave to the Lord your God,'" the connection between the Jewish people and God is like two dates that are lightly attached to one another, but are not tightly pressed together.
Okay, Rabbi Yehuda saying, the way that the people who attached to Baal Peor in the desert, in the story of Pinchas, before in Parashat Pinchas, if you remember, they were worshiping Baal Peor with the Midianites. That's the background. The word used is nitzmadim. Nitzmad is like attached very, very tight. And regarding the Jews, we say ve'atem adveikim b'Adonai Elohechem chaim kulchem hayom. The word is dveikim, and devek is like a light glue. Okay, you can detach it easily. So that's what Rabbi Yehuda is saying, page 98.
This comparison was taught in a Braita, but with the opposite conclusion, that have attached themselves to Baal Peor indicates a connection that is like a bracelet on a woman's arm, which is worn loosely. But you who did cleave to the Lord your God means they actually adhere to one another. There was a tight connection.
So they have a different version that, like a bracelet, you can detach very easily, but something that is glued, you cannot. Please continue.
The Gemara relates another incident with regard to Baal Peor. The sages taught there was an incident involving a Jew named Sabeta ben Alas, who rented out his donkey and his services to a certain Gentile woman. He was driving his donkey behind her, and when she arrived at Peor, she said to him, wait here until I go in and come out. After she came out, he said to her, you too wait for me until I go in and come out? She said to him, aren't you Jewish? Why then are you worshiping idols? He said to her, and what do you care? He entered and defecated before the idol and wiped himself with its nostril, as he wanted to demean the idol as much as possible. But he was unsuccessful, as the priests of Peor were praising him and saying, no person has ever worshipped it before with this excellent form of worship. Although he intended to demean Baal Peor, he actually worshipped it.
Okay.
The halacha is that one. The halacha is that one who defecates before Baal Peor is obligated to bring a sin offering to atone for idol worship, as this is typical form of worship. Even if he intends to demean the idol, likewise, one who throws a stone at Mercury is obligated to bring a sin offering to atone for idol worship, as this is its typical form of worship, even if he intends to stone it. The Gemara relates, Rav Menashe was going to a place called Beit Horta. The people there said to him, there's an object of idol worship situated here in the pile of stones. Rav Menashe picked up the stone and threw it at the idol to demean it. They said to him, it is Mercury and it is worshipped by throwing stones at it. Rav Menashe said to them, we learned in the Mishnah that one who throws a stone at Mercury as a manner of worship is liable, whereas I intended to demean it. Rav Menashe went and asked the sages in the study hall whether his interpretation of the Mishnah was correct. They said to him, we learned in the Mishnah that one who throws a stone at Mercury is liable, which implies that he is liable even if he intends to stone it in order to demean it. Rav Menashe said to the sages, if so, I will go and take back the stone I threw. They said to him, both one who removes it and one who replaces it is liable, as each and every one of the stones taken away from Mercury leaves space for another stone. Taking a stone away from Mercury provides a place for other stones to be thrown at it.
Okay, thank you. And look at the halakha at the bottom of the page, bottom left, one who worships.
One who worships an idol, an object of idol worship and intends to demean the idol, in case where one performs an act of idol worship intending to demean the idol, if he worships it in the manner typical for that idol, he is obligated to bring a sin offering. Ritual, okay. So
And that means that because is the typical manner in which this idol is worshipped, it's not an excuse for you to say I wanted to demean it. You are not probably, if you wanted to demean this idol and you did not intend to worship it, you bring a sin offering like this rabbi who did it. Of course, you are not condemned to death.
Oh.
That reminds me of the story, like in the shul, they say, someone told me the story that a person goes to the shul and says that the woman in front of him has, how do you call it, a wedgie, like a, yes. So he wants to be helpful. So he just takes the way he just removed the pants. And the woman slaps him in the face. So then he gives her another wedgie just to put it. So I guess if you remove the stone or you put the stone, it's not going to help you. That is my association. So we are going to stop now a little earlier, but sometimes I take more time and you are patient with me. So we are going to begin next week back at 10 a.m. with the Mishnah.
Okay, so can I notify with you?
Okay, I wish you all the best. I don't know if you are available to go at 11 at the presentation from Stryker about the JTS library. I think it may be live. I don't know, even if you didn't register, it may be live. Give me one second,
Yeah,
please.
right. I'm glad you reminded me about that. I
can
wanted
find it. I'd like to encourage you to.
I think you had to register for it though, Rabbi.
I know, but if you are looking for a simple way to watch and listen, you can live stream the event from Temple Emmanuel. Just click or copy this link, okay? And I think you can do it. You go to Emmanuel. I'm going just to put it here. Everybody, I think, can do it. You cannot ask questions if you do it that way, but I'm going to put it in the chat. Let me just put it here. Okay. So I just sent it to you. emmanuelnyc.org/broadcast. You can go at 11. I think that this is open to everybody. The Zoom or the registration is, it's not Zoom, is if you want to be able to ask questions. So, but The important thing is the collection. One thing that is fascinating, I went to a couple of times to a private tour. They don't do it any longer because of COVID, because they moved the library. It's one of the most amazing things that we have in America, one of the most important manuscript libraries, Jewish libraries in the entire world. One of the things that they have, and Kramer, the Professor Kramer is going to give the tour. I hope they're going to show it. It's a siddur, I think written for a woman, and in the blessing, the morning blessing, it says Shelo Asan Ish. A woman says that you did not make me a man. So this is yeah. So it's an interesting. They have the procedures of the Inquisition there. They have the original, some of the original procedures of the auto de fe, you know, when they burn people. I mean, it's what they have in that collection is amazing. The JTS library is and it's here in New York. Okay, we are going to see them on Zoom, but I think you will enjoy it if you can make it. And I wish all of you a good and blessed day.
Thank you, Rabbi. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I also put something in the chat if you can't watch it live. I added something in the chat.
Striker, New York City, past event recordings. Thank you so much, Edna. Thank you so much. Have a good day, everybody.
You
Thank
too.
Thank you, you too.